Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at Dead by Daylight's upcoming killer, the Judgment. The Judgment being the killer we have been gradually designing as a community as part of the Grimoire for the upcoming chapter Chorus of Sin, built entirely by the community. I was invited by BHVR to check out the prototype power of the Judgment along with a few other creators, and it's very cool. It's worth keeping in mind that all gameplay you see in this video is very early stages, there's not even official textures or anything yet. We were primarily testing out the gameplay, so that's the part to focus on here. Let's get into it. First off, I'll explain how the Judgment's power worked in the prototype. I'll cover my thoughts later on as well. The killer that's been designed so far is an angel, and so its core ability is a beam of light that you can project out of yourself. In the prototype build, this beam is chargeable, with it first being held, allowing you to position it. You can see where it's being positioned with a marker on the ground. The beam is quite different beyond the initial charge though, with it having an initial placement point and then a second point where you're able to angle the beam in a direction of your choice. The longer you hold it, the further out the beam goes, and then you can direct it by moving your mouse from side to side, meaning the beam sort of has two articulation points. This allowed for incredible flexibility in movement and placement with this. You're able to adjust distance and direction. When you release the beam, it'll sweep across the environment, only slowing upon passing through a thick object like a wall, flying incredibly quickly. This thing really gets launched across the environment. It can still pass through anything though, and can still get a hit in this way. The beam also affects all floors of a map, and comes down from the skies almost like a divine orbital laser. It's really scary, and the sounds on the prototype build were honestly quite horrifying. When that thing first plunged down, I was scared.
There's a Higgs, by the way.
Whoa!
I just found the Higgs.
Up to you if you want to do it.
That beam is so scary. This huge beam of light was sweeping across the trial. Yeah, it was scary, what can I say? When the beam hits a survivor, it first off inflicts them with sin, which makes the survivor now susceptible to damage. And further, if they're downed, susceptible to being sent into exile, which we'll talk about in a bit. I think having sin was a good idea, as otherwise this beam would have been way too strong. So you inflict sin first, and then you can damage afterwards. A bit like Artis with her crows, for example. This sort of mechanic works here well though, due to the potential power of the ability. There are a few ways to make this power work well, I think. One of the core things we were all trying on the playtest was to try and make use of the beam's ability to traverse across the whole map, and so use it almost like Artis' crows, sending the beam directly to generators. I know aura perks were popular too, and especially Lethal Pursuer and a Nurse's Cooling were used to try and take advantage of the early game, and also when survivors were huddled up and vulnerable, as yes, the beam can afflict or damage multiple people at once, making it hugely deadly in some instances. It was also used generally as an anti-loop tool, although in a much more interesting and creative way I'd say, as the beam is not very effective at close range, as it continually moves away from you the longer you charge it. Therefore it had to be used from a greater distance, making it higher risk but higher reward. It's an ability that does require a lot of prediction of survivor movement and map knowledge. As this is just the prototype too, we didn't have access to any add-ons just yet, but I think there's surely a ton of cool things that could be done with the beam to slightly adjust it or provide it with additional effects. It feels like a great ability to apply lots of unique effects onto, so I'm excited for that. Exile is the second part of the power and comes into play whenever a survivor is inflicted with sin, which you gain by being hit by the beam. Once downed, the survivor will be sent into exile, which is an entirely different realm, not too dissimilar from the Void that appears during the Halloween events. In this realm, you're under constant threat from lots of beams of light that continually spawn around the area, slowly expanding out. Once they reach their full size, they're able to damage you, the damage coming in the form of a regressing hook bar. There's a secondary mechanic which you can utilize too, which allows you to pick up artifacts on the ground. These artifacts can be shone at small crystals in the sky, letting you draw them towards yourself, and providing you with a speed boost when they reach you. These briefly help you to avoid the beams that appear throughout the Exile grounds, as you're able to move faster than the spawning beams. You have to survive in Exile for a bit over 20 seconds, as this is when your teammates are able to pray for you. Once you've been in Exile for around 20 seconds, all survivors still in the trial grounds can go up to various prayer points and spend a few seconds to bring you back from Exile, which will instantly pull you back into the trial, and place you at one random prayer point. Technically though, if you weren't saved in Exile or failed to dodge the beams, you do end up just dying, I guess, at least, as we didn't actually test that, but that's presumably what would happen as the hook timer decreases. Overall, I don't think this is really meant to happen in Exile. I think the point of it is more to put pressure on you, and put pressure onto the team. I think there's very few instances where you would actually die with this, and I think that's good the way it is. It should feel stressful and have some pressure, but it shouldn't just be a guaranteed kill for the killer. This, after all, is meant to be a hook equivalent for the killer, sending you to Exile. Think of it just like being on a hook, except with a much more elaborate minigame to play, and far more stressful. Exile was stressing me out, it's scary in there. Whilst obviously untextured for now as it's just the prototype, you can get an idea of what Exile may look like, as the Grimoire votes that came out recently depicted are two options, one being more purple and cosmic and the other being cloudier and brighter. Which would you prefer to see? So, my thoughts. Overall, I've got to say this power is really fun, but in its current state, which again is very much a work in progress, this is a prototype, super early stage, it is tricky to use. You can see me struggle with it quite a bit as a fairly casual player. I was playing with Ots, Hens, Alf, and Mintskull, who would say are far more capable than me when it comes to gameplay, and they hit some really nice shots with this power. I hit a few, but I did struggle, but I had a really great time. And I think this power is perfectly learnable as a casual, you just need a bit more time to get the hang of it. It's a power that is going to be very rewarding in that sense. A power which is hard to pick up and learn, but it has such high potential that getting good with it is very worthwhile. I compared the beam a bit earlier to Artist, and it's similar in terms of the progression too, I think. Artist has huge potential with her infinite range, but you need to be able to actually act on that. The beam is kind of similar where the potential is almost infinite, especially as it affects all floors of the map, but there's truly high potential with this. Also with how the beam moves, this power has such precise sort of articulation and direction. The way you're able to trace a shape with it and direct it so accurately, it's very high precision. This is an ability that has kind of multiple articulation points for you to cast and then swing this beam across the environment. It's also got a leg up on lots of other abilities that first inflict and then damage, as it's able to inflict sin onto multiple survivors at a time, if the beam passes through them all. One thing I loved about this ability too, and the broader power in fact, is that it feels really unique. Whilst I have drawn a few comparisons to other killers, I'm mainly just doing that so you have more of a reference point, as this power does feel very unique. The placement and movement of the beam doesn't feel like anything we've had in the game up until this point, which is really great, I think. From what I experienced of Exile, I did really like it, although a sentiment a few of us felt was the current version of Exile was a little pointless sometimes, and sometimes a bit too easy to navigate. Personally, I felt scared out and stressed by it on multiple occasions, so it was plenty stressful for me. But I do think the punishment for getting hit could be a bit more substantial, a greater degree of regression to your hook timer, as most of the time you're probably going to get pulled out of Exile within 20 seconds anyway. That's certainly how we were playing it. We were praying immediately when it was available, with only a few occasions when we had to leave someone in Exile for maybe like 10 seconds more. I could imagine this being really horrifying though if all of your team were occupied and no one could pray for you. That's the true danger of this, I guess. Whilst it is easy to do for 20 seconds, it does get kind of tiring, and it does require quite a bit of focus to keep dodging all of the beams that are spawning in around you. You do get some small reprieves though with the mechanic where you're able to get a haste bonus by shining your artifact onto the crystals in the sky. I thought this part of the power was so cool, and I really cannot wait to see it fully textured with all of the effects, and the beams and stuff like that. It's going to look so great. Finally, I want to talk about the current progress we have on the Grimoire, and also how these abilities fit into it. The Grimoire being a chapter being made entirely by the community's choices, series, with us voting week to week on what we want to see in the chapter. The chapter so far is called Chorus of Sin and features the Judgment, an angel killer, which will look like this, and have a winged staff as a weapon. The survivor is named Aurora and will look like this as her core outfit, inspired by this as her mood board. We further recently had votes for the Mori animation and also the perks for this chapter. Overall, I think this is shaping up to be a really cool chapter. The focus of an angel or divine killer was always an idea I loved as soon as I saw it, and I think the design along with the power that I've seen is a really great combo, and I can't wait for more people to try these abilities out because they were so much fun. Alright, well that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed, and big thank you to Behavior for inviting me to playtest this prototype. It was such an awesome experience and something I never thought I'd get to do, so thank you very much. This stuff behind the scenes has always, completely fascinated me. There's so many videos I've made on the old prototype videos, so yeah, this was awesome. And I hope everyone watching enjoyed it as well. Let me know your thoughts as always down below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.